If you're thinking about starting Warhammer 40K, you've been told at least one of these lies. It's way too expensive, you need a 2,000 point army, you have to paint like the box art, and some of those are completely false. Others contain just enough truth to make beginners spend hundreds of pounds before they even play their first game. Today we're breaking down the 8 biggest lies people are told before they start Warhammer 40K and what to do instead. Lie number 1, Warhammer is too expensive. Yes, it can be too expensive. But here's the truth. Warhammer only becomes exceptionally expensive when you try to buy everything at once. You've got lots of options to try and save your money during Warhammer, such as starter sets, combat patrols, second-hand purchasing, and all that stuff. Another thing is you can build slowly. It doesn't mean you need to go out and buy a 2,000 point army straight away. You can start playing from as simply as buying a combat patrol and using the rules inside of that and playing other people who have combat patrols. Also, buying one project at a time is such a massive impact to try and make it feel much more manageable to start this hobby. If you try to do 3 different armies at the same time, rather than say, here's a combat patrol, I'm going to build and paint this and make this look awesome, and then you can start to build on top of that combat patrol towards the 1,000 points, and small games like that. Combat Patrol is also a great game. Like, it still gives you the fundamentals of Warhammer 40k and lets you learn the actual core rules and gives you some more basic rules to understand from the units inside the Combat Patrol before you fully get into the hobby. Warhammer isn't cheap, but it doesn't have to bankrupt you. Lie number 2. You need 2,000 points before you start playing. This is a massive falsehood. And again, you can go through combat patrols and you can go through small 1,000 point armies. Even stuff like boarding action, which is something that existed a while ago and still is around to this day, and you still find the rules online. You can get into all these things before you get into it. Another option is Tabletop Simulator. You can actually get a 1,000 point army on Tabletop Simulator and play it online against your friends to get a better gauge on whether the army vibes with you or not before you make that big investment to get that army. Also, small 500 point games are completely viable, like especially when you're first starting to learn. You should be trying to understand and enjoy the hobby rather than put pressure on yourself to try and have to play that 2,000 point game, especially with the amount of rules that you have to track in this game. It's quite a lot. So I'd recommend going down the path of small games at first and then build up to it slowly. You don't want to put too much pressure on this. It's a hobby and it is meant to be fun. Also, make sure you're playing with your friends. Local game stores are fantastic for this. I've got a couple of local ones near me and they're great. And these places are great if you want to first start getting into the hobby. There's people who play combat patrol, there's people who play small 500 point games. A lot of these stores have really good discords you can get involved with to try and organise these games. Like, say for instance, in Barnsley, there is a place called Prestige Wargaming. Fantastic places where I got my Armageddon box from. And a guy called John Swallow runs it, and it's fantastic. But I would definitely recommend trying to get into local gaming stores and try and get those games in to try and get yourself really immersed in the hobby. You don't need a tournament army, you just need enough models to learn. Because ultimately, learning the game is the thing that's going to get you more excited, get you more driven to get more models, and get you more driven to actually go towards that 2,000 point army that you so desire. Lie number 3 is buying the strongest army. Now, this, in my personal opinion, is the worst bit of advice a beginner can get. Especially now that we have rules changes every 3 months for the Miniature and Field Manual. So points changes happen, nerfs happen to units that are too strong. And as someone who does the tournament side of things and the hobby side of things quite immersively, I can tell you now that if you've chased the meta, you're just going to spend a lot of money on it. And if you buy the best army straight away all the time, then you're going to put yourself into a position where you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself to try and get these results with these armies, because you should. But ultimately, the game is balanced enough now that if you try and use the strongest army consistently to try and do well, or because it's the army that you want to buy, and you start losing, it can sort of, knock you down a bit. But the game is balanced enough now that you still have to be good at the game to win these games consistently. Meta changes all the time, but the army is the thing that you need to love to be able to continue and enjoy the hobby. If you think Space Marines look amazing, buy Space Marines. If you think Gene Steelers look amazing, buy Gene Steelers. And all these armies have different prices. If you want to check out the prices of these armies, or you want to have a good gauge on which ones are the cheaper ones or which ones are the more expensive, I've recently done a tier list on ranking all the Warhammer 40k armies based off cost to collect. So if you want to go check that out, there's a little thing there. Lie number 4, you'll never paint like the box art. Good. Neither did anyone else. My first Tau model that I bought, which was a Fire Warrior, was painted with the Works acrylic paint with Tau Sept ochre over the top, not even primed. You could peel the paint off like sellotape, and it was absolutely awful. But I really enjoyed the process, and it was something that started to get me into the hobby. People forget that the most important thing when you're getting started in this hobby is to just get started. Like, getting started is one of the biggest turning points in this hobby. Because as soon as you get started, you understand the sort of stuff you like, the sort of play style you like, and you get to expand on things that you already have. I don't have a photo of my first miniature anymore because unfortunately I don't have it, but I'm going to show you an old miniature that I've painted, and then I'm going to show you one of the new ones that I painted recently. Now this is over the course of like many years, but at the same point, painting does improve a lot. You have a very steep learning curve where you improve really quickly, and then after that it sort of peters off, which is what happened to me. But then you start to go through the nitty-gritty and get to improve more. And basically, painting is one of those things that the amount of time you put into it, the better you're going to get. And the great thing about this hobby is you can track your own improvement by seeing the models that you paint. Like if you start with Warhammer 40K and you paint your first Space Marine, I guarantee you by the time you paint your last Space Marine, that will look a lot better. And just compare the two, because you're going to see a really big difference, and it's going to be really cool to see. Line number 5, you need every rule book. So this is a big one, because ultimately, having all the rules is a super important part to have this game. But also, if you want to start Space Marines, let's say, and you just want to start playing Combat Patrol, you don't need to go out and buy the Space Marine Codex for that, because all the Combat Patrol rules are actually on the Warhammer 40K app for free, and you can just go and find them, which is fantastic. Now, another thing is recently, since the 11th edition has come out, all those core rules are free themselves, and all of the missions and all that sort of thing you can find, and all the deployments you can find. So it's not like you're amiss for information in this day and age. Back in the day, you'd have to buy the Codex and the rulebook, and that was it. Now, you have everything at your fingertips, and you can go and buy a Codex if you really want. The codexes do change quite a lot though, so be warned. A lot of people buy these codexes just for the code at the back so they can have it in the app, because a lot of these codexes now have changed so much since the release that it's not very accurate. But save yourself some money, just go and get the free rules on the app, and then you'll have some fun with that. Line number 6, every army costs the same. Now, again, as I mentioned earlier, I have a video on this. Not all armies cost the same. Some armies will take a massive investment to actually, buy and use to a 2,000 point army. A lot, and others will take not a lot to invest and get to a 2,000 point army. But when you're just getting started, that doesn't matter too much. Combat patrols are mostly all the same price. But just be aware that if you support like Gene Stealer Cult, say for instance, as a combat patrol, you want to build that up to like 2,000 points, that is going to be a lot more expensive than say for instance buying a Custodes box. Because Custodes don't have many models and the boxes are cheaper. So therefore the army is just going to cost a lot less. And this is the reason why I ranked all the armies like this in that video earlier, so you can really see the differences between those armies and really get a gauge on which ones are the cheaper ones and which ones are more expensive. Lie number 7, finishing your army before playing. Now, this is a divisive point in the hobby where people say you shouldn't play with the army until you've painted it and all that sort of thing. Now, personally, I disagree with this. I think playing as soon as you can is much more fun. I think sitting alone with models in your house for like, a month while you paint them can actually sort of make you lose interest in that hobby. So as soon as I built my first models at 14 years ago, I then took them to the Games Workshop store and played games with them. So I was playing small 500 point games, getting some cool little interactions and getting involved with the local community, which gave me a lot more hype for the hobby than I really thought I would early on. And also this means you get to see if you enjoy the hobby, because you don't want to spend a month or two painting a combat patrol and then go and play and finding out you don't actually enjoy playing the game. And it would be really heartbreaking and a big time investment to find out you don't enjoy it. So I would definitely recommend playing with unpainted models if you need to, and just go and get involved, because ultimately this is going to be much more beneficial to you than just not playing at all. Lie number 8, winning is the point. Warhammer is one of the few hobbies that have all of these things encompassed: building, painting, lore, collecting, narrative play, tournaments, and they're all valid ways to play the hobby. So I know guys who have not gone above 1,000 points and they just play Strike Force. That's it. They just like playing their 1,000 point games, get to see some of the new cards, get to follow the new releases, get to paint their miniatures, and they love the hobby that way. And I play in local crusades. Like I'm a tournament player who's playing on Team England, and I go and play in a local crusade because I love crusade. Crusade's an absolutely awesome way to play. And then all I do is turn up with like Raven Guard with bolters and stuff, and it's just really fun. So ultimately, the hobby is what you make it. You want to have fun with this hobby. If you have fun going to tournaments and trying to win every game, then go for it. But don't let it affect your mentality in terms of enjoying the hobby. Or if you really enjoy just playing Crusade or playing a combat patrol or playing boarding action, then those are all completely fine ways to play them. Because ultimately, this hobby is all about enjoying it. It's not about trying to be the best at something. And on that same point, painting. Like, comparison is the thief of joy, which is a phrase that I've heard recently, and I think it's beautiful. The reason why is, if you look at people's models online, like all of these shorts and all that sort of thing, they look fantastic, right? They absolutely look fantastic. However, if you're just starting the hobby, your models aren't going to look like that. And that's okay, because that's where you're going to be trying to build to at some stage. Or maybe not. Maybe you're just happy with painting your models 3 colors and, getting them to battle ready. But ultimately, don't let the comparison affect the way you enjoy the hobby, because ultimately the only comparison you really need to do is on yourself and your own minis. If you're making improvements on things and you want to make improvements, then that's enough progress. Everyone makes progress at their own rates, but don't be discouraged if your rate is slower than someone else's, because ultimately everyone's different in that way. If you lose every game, but you love painting your army, you're having fun, if you win some games and you don't enjoy painting your army, but you're enjoying playing a lot more, you're still both doing the hobby in completely valid ways, and it's totally fine. So those are my 8 lies, but the truth is, Warhammer isn't nearly as intimidating as the internet makes out. Most beginners don't quit because the hobby's too difficult. They quit because they get bad advice before they even begin. And hopefully this video saves you from making some of those mistakes, or not listening to some of those lies that some people in the community may tell you. And if you're wondering which armies are actually right for you, or which combat patrol to buy if you wanted to try and get into the hobby, I actually have 2 videos out, one which compares all the combat patrols by value and contents, and another video ranking all the Warhammer 40K armies based off of how expensive they are to collect. Thank you for watching, guys. If you want to see more beginner-friendly content and all that sort of thing, please do drop a like and subscribe. We do a lot of this stuff, and I have been really enjoying doing it. I'm trying to get as much information out there as possible to try and help the people who are starting the hobby get involved. The goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of July, so we're going to try and do that. But thank you guys for watching. Much love, and bye-bye.